Hello, and welcome to the 8th episode of Creator Spotlight from The Interface. Creator Spotlight is our brand new series where we talk to creators about what they make and do and how they got started. Today I'm joined by Andrew Till, who has a YouTube channel talking about his all things EVs. So welcome, Andrew.
Hello, Alex. Very good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, good. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Webcam issues, but other than that, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Brilliant. So, you run the YouTube channel Mr. EV Man, or
Mr. EV, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You
confusing
sometimes involve your family as well.
yeah, I was going to say it's confusing because there's also EVM, and people get this mixed up all the time. But and he's also called Andy, actually. So but no, I'm Mr. EV, and if I've got the family involved, then I change that to Family EV. And
I noticed that it's like a little animation cross-out thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people say I should change my name to Family EV anyway, just because they prefer it when my wife's in the videos.
Yeah, she's quite funny. So.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing the YouTube channel? Is it a full-time thing or?
No, I wish it was full time, but no, I'm. When did I start it? 2019, I think I started it, and I've just my proper job is doing web development and design, brochures, all that sort of stuff, branding. So this is very much a hobby, and it takes up more time than it probably should do, just because, as you know, trying to create anything is very, very time consuming. But no, I mean it's had so much traction and so much interest that it makes me want to do more and more. But it's just trying to, it's difficult trying to get the balance right. I need to get money before I can launch into it full time, But that would be nice. That's the goal.
Yeah, the interface on my website I've been doing for 10 years, and that takes up way more time than it needs to. At holidays and weekends, I'm just doing stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
And it takes up a lot of time. It doesn't. Yeah, it's really good if you enjoy doing it. I find.
Yeah, and that's
the money back doesn't.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. And I've always felt that if I were to do it full time, would I enjoy it as much? If it was something, if I really had to get the videos out and I had to get the money to pay the mortgage, then maybe that wouldn't be as fun, I think. So it's very difficult trying to get the balance right.
Yeah, someone. So Johnny Smith.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really interesting watching him go to full time himself in early 2020. It's such a risky time to do it. Well, obviously you wouldn't have known in January what happened later, but that's a good example of someone who's taken it like the next level.
Yes.
And managed to do it full time, which is quite impressive, really.
Yeah, I think the key for Johnny. I mean, I've not spoken to him, but I think the key with Johnny is that he's actually got a crew. So he's actually got someone that films.
Yeah.
Got someone that I imagine someone else that edits.
Yeah, I think so.
And also someone to do the social media side of things. So I think once you've got all of that in place, then it becomes a bit easier because like Johnny can focus on, actually filming the videos, doing all the interesting stuff like the car cave stuff and all that kind of thing. And he's got someone else to worry about all the editing because the editing I find is very consuming and that takes ages.
It takes ages. Yeah.
And just worrying about, sound and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to do it all yourself is a real headache. And I know Johnny has done a few videos all himself, and you can kind of tell because he comes up at the bottom with but audio quality issues and things like that.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's like for most of us that can't do it full time. The brilliant thing about Johnny is that he's fantastic and he's well known in the industry, and so he can get lots of early car releases and things like that. So I would say it's kind of easier for him, but at the same time, the quality the quality of the stuff that his channel pushes out is just amazing. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, I tend to reserve his stuff for the TV, so I'll treat it like a Top Gear episode or something.
yeah, and it
deserves that. Yeah,
and the brilliant thing about Johnny actually is that he could go the Top Gear route and could make everything really over stylized and doing all these challenges and things like that, but actually all his videos are pretty chilled out. It's just him talking about a car because he knows his stuff. It's engaging, and it's not all kind of lots of quick edits and things like that. It's just Johnny with a car, so he's brilliant. He's like I think many of us that do this kind of YouTubing with EVs and things, I think we would all kind of aspire to be like Johnny Smith, really. Yeah. Although Jack
Yeah.
on Fully Charged is also fantastic. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
enjoyed it. I enjoyed Jack's video on the Spring, Dacia Duchess Spring.
yeah.
Yeah, I
When
think
he was
he went
going
to
around
France.
Paris, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Going around Paris. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
he's brilliant as well. Yeah.
I'd love to. I hope they bring that car to this country because that's such a cool idea.
Yeah, but they need
Price
to.
wise.
Yeah, they desperately need to because car prices are just stupid. Yeah, or EV
Yeah,
prices
I
in particular.
they're ridiculous. Yeah, I published something about the Dacia Spring on the interface, and that got a lot of hits from Google. People were just searching it. It's like Dacia Spring and then UK. So there seemed to be quite a bit of interest for it. So
Yeah, I think they will bring it over here. It won't be as cheap as they get it in Europe, but
yeah,
it needs to happen. Yeah, because we need basic utilitarian kind of EVs because loads of people want EVs. Loads of people have
Yep.
driveways. In fact, the majority of us in this country have driveways. So something like that's just cheap, that gets you from A to B, no frills kind of EV is exactly what we need. And in fact, someone's got a Volkswagen e-up just up the road from me. And every time I see it, I just think, see, there you go. That's what we need more of. Just decent,
yeah.
small cars. I mean, that doesn't even have an infotainment system particularly. It's just you have to mount your iPhone or whatever, you know.
No, I got the
And
GTI version. It's the same thing. So
right, yeah. Well, there you go.
yeah,
See, but they're
yeah,
brilliant. That's that kind of car. But
yeah,
you know, the profits are all in SUVs, so that's why we get so many of those, I suppose. It's a shame.
yeah, yeah. It is. Yeah. Yeah. So with you're on about the editing time for videos. I was talking to it was a net like a my background's networking, so I was talking to a networking YouTuber a few weeks ago, and he said he made a half an hour video. I think it took him 7 or 8 hours to edit it because it was like out and about, very much like a car video where it's out and about doing stuff, lots
Yeah.
of different shots and things. It's like I was like, what? That's ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's about right actually. Yeah, I've just done a 5 minute video, 6 minute I think it ended up being, a
Yeah.
6 minute video, and how long did that take me? That was a day of filming and probably another
Oh,
day of editing, really, for a 6 minute video. It was ridiculous. Yeah,
I
but
know.
I mean, also I kind of, there are YouTubers like Bjorn Nyland that knock out one video a day, which is really impressive. But the way
Yeah.
they do it is they don't edit. I mean, Bjorn
Mm.
like maybe puts a few graphics in or something,
Yeah.
but really doesn't edit much. Now I can't do that because I and ah far too much. So I'm terrible. I need to edit if I want if I want to make decent videos. I do anyway. So, but again, it's interesting seeing how YouTubers approach these things, because
Yeah.
you kind of have to solve that. You have to get your videos out quickly, because otherwise YouTube, their algorithm just punishes you. And that's what I found. It's amazing how the views slip so quickly. They go down so quickly if you haven't done one video a week. And this is, I do try to do that, but invariably I just don't manage. But I need to try and get on that one video a week thing, because if you don't, then that's it, you know, the views fall
Yeah.
off a cliff.
Yeah, so I'm not. So the Creator Spotlight podcast. It's like it's one every month maybe. It's whenever I can get people on. So I'm not. It's more interesting to speak to people for my sake really, than getting more views on YouTube. So
Yeah,
it is weird how it does that. So
yeah, it's very frustrating. Yeah, but I try not to look at it too much, all of that, or I don't get too consumed by it. But again, that's going back to what we were talking about earlier. That's the benefit of
yeah,
it being a hobby and not a full-time job. Because if it was full-time, I'd be panicking. I'd be staring at these views and I'd be thinking, why aren't they higher? Why aren't they higher? And then you get
yeah,
into all the thumbnail stuff and worrying about if the thumbnail is good enough and all this kind of thing. And yeah, you can send yourself crazy with all that.
yeah. There's a lot of stuff to go into.
Yeah,
It's crazy. What do you use for editing? What about out of question?
So I use Final Cut Pro.
Yep.
Which I've used that since day one. And in fact,
Oh, wow.
I've used Final Cut Pro for many, many years. When I first started working, this is a long time ago, so 98, it must have been 97, 98 or something like that. I bought a £3,500 Power Mac G4 or something. It had the DVD burner and all of that, but that had Final Cut version 1 point whatever with it.
Yeah.
And so I've been using it for a long time. I still don't feel I actually know all of how to use it properly, but I'm really comfortable with it, and I think it's a brilliant bit of software.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
using it since the summer. And it's a lot to get your head around. I had to watch a lot of tutorials, but it does make sense. Now I've
yeah,
edited quite a few. It gets there. So
yeah. It does. And the when they launched the kind of the new version, so Final Cut Pro X, or whatever it was, and
yeah,
they had the magnetic timeline, like they called it. A lot of people freaked out about it, saying, "Oh my god, it's awful! It's awful! It's terrible! You know, go back to how it was." But actually, it makes so much sense that
yeah,
I do find that editing is much quicker in Final Cut. Any time I've dipped into trying to use another editing software, you know, I would like to just expand my horizons a bit and try others, but nothing comes close to Final Cut,
yeah,
from my experience anyway.
yeah. If I'm trying to do a bit of blur on a clip, you just cut it with the blade tool, and then you can drop it back in, and it sticks itself back on top, and
Yeah,
you can put the blur over. So it's otherwise you've got to make sure that you're not reveal. I don't know. It's nice and quick. You can turn
yeah,
off the magnetic thing if you need to, but
yeah.
yeah,
No, it's really good.
yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll get into more EV stuff. So what's your? I've seen on Twitter your daily car is a Mocha E now. How are you finding that?
It was actually. It went back yesterday. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've uh, we get a lot of cars with Onto, a service called Onto, and the advantage with Onto is that you can have a car every month if you want to. You have to pay for like
Yeah, yeah,
collection and delivery and that, but you can keep swapping. So actually, it works really well for us because you know I like to try lots of different cars, and obviously I like to do little films about them and things. And I don't really want to. I don't want to have the commitment of having like a 2-year lease again,
yeah,
like I had with the Nero. I mean, the E-Nero was actually really good, and I would have happily kept on going with it. But people want to see lots of different cars. So the moment I got the Ioniq 5, like the interest was enormous, and you know it was
yeah.
a cool new car to have. So I just quite like it keeps things fresh a little bit. I tried, I've got a Fiat 500e now, so that's the next car I've got with Onto.
Oh,
So
you've gone
I've
back.
got yeah. So I've got a video. Yeah, they gave. This is quite cool actually. So they gave me one for free for a month if I did a sponsored video about it. So
Okay.
this is my first proper sponsored thing really. So I feel like I'm selling my soul a little bit, but because we're used Onto already, I didn't think it was too bad.
I
So
think
that
that's a
yeah.
I think that's a little bit of a push by them at the moment because Ian from Hubnut has just got one
Yes.
Fiat 500 yeah, and so has I've got a guest on in a few weeks' time, Natisha from Auto Social. I think she's got one as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
they're making a big push
so
before
yeah,
Christmas, I think, to try and because
yeah,
I don't know whether they got a whole load of them off the boat or something, but it's definitely something they're doing. So yeah, so I
yeah.
knew they'd approached a few people, and I said yes because the Mocha was naturally coming to the end of its term anyway. So and
Okay,
I love the Fiat 500e. It's a wonderful little car.
yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
used to have
Onto
one
is interesting.
back in the day. What was that? Sorry.
Sorry, Onto is quite interesting. It's quite a there was something there's some other schemes like it with like no deposit sort of rental car schemes, but I think the prices are quite competitive. Taking consideration all the stuff you get with it, you get the insurance and the charging and that sort of thing. How does the charging work? That was a question I had actually.
Yeah, so yeah, they are really. It is really competitive, and it surprised me actually because
Yeah.
if you actually look on a leasing website, it didn't used to be the case actually. It used to be a bit more expensive, I think, but now you look on a leasing website, even if you don't include a lot of the extras like the free charging, it still works out cheaper than it would be if you were to try and get a lease with like no deposit up front and all this sort of
Mm.
stuff. So yeah, it's really competitive. I don't know how they do it actually, but yeah, in terms of charging, so you get 3 charging cards with it, and you get Instavolt, BP Pulse, and a Shell charging card. But the Shell one actually works with loads of different companies. So from memory, like Ionity and Genie Point, and lots of other charging networks. So between them, you get 12,500, I think it is, charging points across the country that you can activate just with these 3 cards. And of course, and
That's
if you
pretty
get a
good.
Tesla from them, you get the superchargers as well, of course.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, no, it works really well. Unfortunately, in Canterbury, I don't have very many chargers around here. We've got one Rapid at the moment, which is a Genie Point
Oh.
one, which I generally try to avoid. But I mean, I can charge at home anyway, so it's fine for me. But that's the only issue. I mean, I suppose it's, if you were to get a car with On2 and you don't have home charging, then of course you're reliant on the public charging network. So that's just one thing to be to be thinking about. But most of the country is pretty good. Canterbury's a weird one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, are you near motorways? That might be something to do with it, but
yeah, I don't know. Canterbury's kind of nestled kind of in between. We've got a couple of motorways, but really, even on the motorway, it's terrible. Actually, we don't have much. Yeah, it's really rubbish where we are. But they're building. There's MFG is a really good company, and they've got
yes.
They're building four. They've got 4 rapid chargers that are just waiting to be commissioned, I think, in Canterbury.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty rubbish situation, and I've moaned at the council so much about it that they're sick of me. Anyway, it'll happen eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. One thing I'm keen to check out soon. I think I saw it on Twitter. That I think you were with some of the people doing it. It was the Braintree GridServe. What's it called? The electric forecourt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't had the chance to check it out yet, but that looks really. I really hope they bring more to other places.
Yeah, that really is amazing. That place. Yeah. So I've been there 3 times now, and every time I go there, I just think, my God, this is amazing. This is like the future. Because also it's covered. So when I was there the other day, it was raining, and most of the time, ridiculously, if you try and charge in your car, you're going to get drenched because hardly any chargers are under a canopy. So there they've got whatever it is, like 24 chargers or something like that. The vast majority are covered, and it's just, you've got the facilities indoors, meeting rooms. It's amazing. It's a perfect place. Yeah. And they did say that they're going to build 100 of them. I can't remember when they even did it now, a couple of years ago, wasn't it? They said they were going to do 100 of them by 2025. I mean, that's not going to happen, is it? But they're building one at Heathrow, I think it is. And they've got a few.
Norwich.
Yeah, and they've got one in Norwich that's complete, isn't it? So it'll be amazing. Because if you've got something like that, a facility like that, for anyone in that area, it kind of takes away any issues, really. If you can't charge at home, and you can drive 5 minutes to a place like that, sit and have a coffee. 20 minutes later, you go out and your car's charged. So it's brilliant facility.
Yeah. Some other stuff, isn't there? That's like the test drives as well. So getting a car that's you want to try out, you either have to go to the dealership, which I've done a few times, and sort of negotiate all the crap that goes with that. Whereas you could just go there and try them out back to back, which I've seen people do before. So that's a really good idea.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and because I saw the Polestar 2 there, and I still haven't driven that. I've got a horrible feeling if I drive that, I'm going to want one. But I will one of these days. I'll do those back to back test drives. Yeah, they've got a couple of Mercedes, I think, as well, haven't they? And Teslas probably. Yeah, brilliant. It's so good. It's a perfect facility. Really, once they're dotted all around the country, that'll get rid of so many issues for people that say that EVs won't work, because they'll see that it's big and visible and all the rest of it. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I remember the launch of that. I think Robert Llewellyn did a video for Fully Charged. He spoke to the guy who owns it or runs it, whatever, and he was saying that all the energy comes from renewables, which is just amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, they've got.
I'm not entirely sure how they do it, but
exactly. So that's the other reason why that's so good. So GridServe actually have their own solar farms. So when they build these forecourts, I think they build the solar farm like in a field next to it or something, as well, and all of them on the canopy as well. It's all solar panels everywhere. So they've thought about everything. It's it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and he's a really nice guy. Yeah, Toddington, the CEO of GridServe. Yeah, problem is that they've taken over Electric Highway from Ecotricity, and they're having so many issues with that. It's quite upsetting, really. I mean, it's really good that they kind of came in and we all got excited in the community, like, oh, fantastic, GridServe are taking over. But God knows why, but those motorway services are a nightmare. Yeah.
Are they still not great? Are they? Or?
No, I would. Yeah, it's sometimes you're fine if you go to. They've got a few big hubs now, like there's one in Dartford, isn't there, and Exeter, I think, from memory, and a few others dotted around. But if you go to any of the other ones that are just 1 or 2 chargers, unfortunately at the moment there's a good chance, if it's not occupied, there's a good chance it won't be working, from what I see on Twitter, which is depressing, because we should be at the situation where you can just drive anywhere you want in the country, you just stop at a motorway and you know that you can get a charge, but we're not there yet. No. So I don't know why, but again, I think we're getting there. I think it's going to be another 2 years. I think, unfortunately, before we can reliably go anywhere we want without worrying.
Yeah, yeah, it's annoying. The one I saw, there's a Morrison's near me. I think it's the same case in other Morrisons. All their chargers are down. I think
Right,
the one near me has been down for like 2 months.
yeah,
So I'm not
it's
sure what
terrible.
they're doing.
Yeah, well, that's Genie Point. Yeah, so Genie Point are a funny one because they've got one in Canterbury. In fact, the only Rapid in Canterbury is Genie Point. So I don't want to be too harsh on them really, because they're the only ones that have put a charger there, and they've been there for years. And actually, the Canterbury one's really reliable. But for whatever reason, I see so many people moaning about Genie Point. They're trying to do better with it, but I don't know whether it's supply chain issues, or with getting components or something. I don't know. I have no
Right.
idea. Maybe it's networking.
Yeah.
You need to talk to them. Get in there and
Yeah,
sort them out.
Probably.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, sorry.
I was just going to say, what I generally do is if there's a newbie and they don't know where to charge, I generally just say just go to Instavolt or Osprey or MFG, because those three are the ones where you generally don't have a problem.
Yeah.
It's I generally avoid BP, although actually it worked the other day for me when I went there. But those three are brilliant: Instavolt, Osprey, and MFG. And you know that you can just use your normal debit card and credit card and whatever. And
Yeah, the Osprey one's good. You can just use your contactless, whatever. And
Yeah.
the other one which I like is the Charge Point. Is that Instavolt? I can't remember.
so
The Charge Point ones are quite good.
Yes, yeah. So that's Instavolt, and the Charge Point is the make of charger. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it all starts getting a bit geeky, doesn't it? But yeah, so Instavolt, their oldest chargers, I think, were Charge Point ones, and they're really good. And then they use Tritium. I think they use Tritium. My memory's terrible. I think they use Tritium, which are also really good. And now they're using BYD, these ugly kind of monolithic
Oh, okay.
blocks, but they seem to work okay. Everyone thought they were
Yeah.
going to be awful because they've gone for a cheaper charger, really, to keep costs down. But what Instavolt do that's really good is that they're proactive with driving around and checking all their chargers work.
Oh,
So quite often people see. In fact, I saw one myself, and it was really good to see it. So I saw an Instavolt van at one of their chargers, and the guy with the engineer was checking the charger works and everything, and then drives off. And that's really good. So they're Instavolt,
That is
and
good.
I don't know if the others do it, but Instavolt are certainly proactive with doing
Yeah.
that maintenance. And I think
That's really good.
I think that's what they need, all these chargers. I don't know why they have to be so unreliable, because people always moaning about chargers on the internet.
Yeah.
But Instavolt, that's I think probably why Instavolt are one of the best.
yeah. I don't know what it is. It must be something to do with the high voltage, but I would have thought by now it should have been
Yeah,
fine. But
it should be fine. Really. It seems strange. Yeah, I would love to know more about it, but it's probably one of those things that networks don't really want to talk about.
yeah,
You know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it'll all get better one day.
yeah. I've used it. I've used the charger network a few times. I had a Mini E for 48 hours the other week. That was quite
Oh, cool.
cool. But I charged up twice with that, and it was like, okay, it just works. So I used ChargePoint and Osprey at Lidl. So
Ah, right. Oh, okay.
it's great. It just works.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah. Yeah. So what other EVs? What was your first EV then? That you tried?
I don't actually own an EV
No,
yet.
You got an E-Up? Did
but
you say E-Up GTI or something?
No, I've got a petrol
Yeah.
GTI
Yeah.
instead. But I'm looking to get an EV at some point. But I've tried quite a few. EVs. I've tried a Honda E. Had
Oh,
that
cool.
for a day. Just really cool. I love that. Just a shame the range isn't so good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a nice little car. I mean, there's the way the VW stuff's going. They don't have any buttons on the dashboard, which is a bit annoying because it's quite dangerous, really. But the Honda E sort of has that balance of screens and buttons, which is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my pet hates is over reliance on touch screens.
Yeah,
And in fact, this is what's really frustrating actually, because of course Volkswagen they've done this infotainment system, and it's gone across all of the whole group, so
Yep.
they all suffer from the same issue. So you've got Cupra, and you've got I
Yep.
guess Seat when they do something, and Skoda and all that. They're all suffering from the same issues, and the infotainment system is terrible. It's a terrible bit of user interface. It's awful. And when we tried an ID3. and actually really loved it. I mean, it's wonderful the way it drives and everything, really everything about it I loved, but I was just trying to do the volume button, and then that was kind of stuck because it's like weird touch sensitive kind of thing, and that kind of stuck, and it went too loud, and then the heating controls are just awful, and they kind of slidey touch, just dreadful. Yeah, no, give me buttons any day. And Tesla's also got a problem with this because you've got the floating screen, and if you're trying to do, you're trying to drive, and at the corner of your eye you're trying to do stuff on a floaty screen, and you can't rest your hand anywhere to support your hand when you're doing the floaty screen stuff. So no, I can't be doing with that. I need my buttons. And actually that's one of the good things about the Mocha is that, obviously you've got the touch screen because everything has, but at least you've got buttons as well.
Yeah. It's the same on the Golf as well. Exactly. It's basically like the same infotainment system. You can
really. They've used the same stuff.
Yeah, the new petrol Golf. I had one as a courtesy car the other day. The only thing I can work out the best thing to do is rest your hand on top of the screen and then use your thumb. It's just
it's madness, isn't it? Yeah,
I know. Probably the same in the ID3 as well. Even the lights, like normal cars, you can turn the lights on by just clicking a little dial. Whereas on the VW ones, it's a little panel next to the air vents, but it's all touch sensitive, so there's no feedback of feeling if you pressed it or not. So, a bit dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous. Yes, it's dreadful. I'm sure the EU, knowing the EU, they'll probably come up with some law against all this sort of stuff at some point. But something needs to happen, I think, because it's just getting worse and worse. Yeah. I mean, even the Ioniq 5, which I loved. It had heating controls, but the controls themselves were touch sensitive,
right?
And so that just makes no sense to me. Give me even the old fashioned sliders, the proper old sliders that you used to get in cars back when I was young. At least they work. You've got some, you've got something tactile, something tangible that you can actually use, and that's what you need. It drives me crazy all this touch stuff. Yeah, and then of course they might say, well, okay, you've got to use voice control, but voice control is rubbish. Most of the time, it doesn't work very well.
No, I agree with that.
No.
But yeah, so the Honda you had, there's a really good balance of buttons, and you got one for the volume, one for the heating. So that's nice car that was, just a bit expensive.
Yeah. I've not driven that. I've not driven that yet, but I did have a deposit down, so I wanted to buy one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was too expensive.
Yeah, for what you get.
That. Yeah,
because if you look at something like the.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say we've already got a Nissan Leaf which does 70 miles or something like that, so it doesn't do that much more, not to justify the price of it.
The price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive, especially if you look at something like the MG4 as well.
Yeah,
that's such good value. That's a car I'm looking forward to trying out.
Yeah, brilliant package by the looks of it. Yeah, and also it looks quite cool. So it
does,
and I love the orange because I love bright colours. Yeah. So no, the MG4 looks really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to discern in photos how big it is, but it is the same as an ID3. It just looks bigger than it actually is because of the plastic on it. Yeah, but it looks they're doing quite well. The company that owns them.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, well, I can never remember, but it's it's a Chinese company, isn't it? It's not Geely because they own Volvo. Was it Geely? I don't know. Anyway, whatever Chinese company that own it, yeah, they're doing really well.
Yeah, I think it's SAIC. They're the one who bought MG brand.
There we go.
So.
That's it. Yeah.
Geely are doing a lot of stuff. Like Geely own a lot of stuff you wouldn't even realise, like Lotus and Volvo and
that's right.
The London taxi company as well. So
yeah. We're all going to be taken over by the Chinese companies, but they're showing us how to do it. The advantage with them, of course, is they've got their supply chain all sorted out. I think so they can actually get the battery. They can source the batteries and build all this sort of stuff quickly. And also they've got all the chips available. The rest of that, I don't know how anyone else can compete with that really. But the Aura Cat, I mean, there we go. That's another one. That's not as cheap as it should be for a Chinese car.
No,
it's surprisingly expensive, I think, for what you get. Looks cool, but I think prices have to go down. But the problem is we've got a lot of demand. A lot of people want EVs. Doesn't matter how many reports in the press there are about not enough charging points, all the rest of it. People want EVs, and a lot of people have the money for them as well. So, you know, they can sell everyone they build. That's the problem. You're not going to get EVs waiting in a parking garage somewhere. You know, they all get sold, massive waiting lists, and I just can't see prices going down considerably for a long time to come. Unfortunately, yeah, and it's a shame because
I can't work out.
We need more second-hand EVs. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, there aren't many, so
No.
I can't work out the price with the new ones. So like, if you take the Corsa for example, like the petrol one's 19 or 20, and then you add 10 grand for the electric version. I can't work out. That can't be all battery. I can't work out why.
No, it's not. It's profiteering. Yeah, pure profiteering. Yeah, there's no reason for it. We're not quite there yet, but we're very close to the point where battery cars and ICE cars, they should have price parity. Really, maybe not now, but certainly soon. We're at that point where battery costs are so low. So it's just they know that they can fleece us. That's the problem, and yeah, it's a real shame. Yeah, but it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be like this. And car manufacturers, they're used to making these large profits.
Yeah.
I imagine they're trying to claw back any kind of research and development that they've done as well, perhaps. And maybe that's another issue,
probably.
but there's no excuse for it. No, it's ridiculous.
No. Yeah, they don't need as much servicing, if any, really. Well, not much.
No, and well, there you go. So that's the other thing they've probably factored into it. Yeah, that. Yeah, I don't know. I keep revising when things are going to get better in terms of pricing and charging infrastructure and all that. And I keep thinking like, well, yeah, in like 2 years. But I've probably said 2 years, like 2 years ago as well. But obviously, COVID happened, supply chain issues happened. But another 2 years, I think, and things will be a bit better. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just need prices need to come down, but they're not going to come down until they can build more and they can sell more and economies of scale, all that sort of stuff. And they've got to make a bit less profit, you know.
Yeah, as we said earlier in the episode, that there's not many cars that are going to be for everyone yet at all. Like if you think in the combustion world, you've got little cars at about 13 grand or whatever. But there isn't anything like that yet.
There's not. No.
The only thing the cheapest one is the E-Up. That's 20 grand.
Yeah.
So.
I know, it's ridiculous. And really, this is where Kia and Hyundai should have stepped in by now. And you know, they should have versions of their i10 and their Picanto, you know, but they don't yet because they're making an awful lot of money with their Ioniq 5 and the EV6 and everything. So they don't have the incentive to build anything cheaper. So they will at some point, you know, they will have. Then maybe a couple of years again. It'll be a couple of years maybe before we get the EV1 and the Ioniq 1 or whatever. But even then, when they do that, it's still going to be expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, there's supposed to be an ID2 as well at some stage. I think that'll be Polo sized.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure how much that would be, but
yeah. The problem is that, you know, we've got the car makers are always telling us, well, we all want SUVs, and they know that they can make more money by selling SUVs. But if you and you would think, in fact, based on all the cars that get released at the moment, most of them tend to be SUVs, you know. So you'd think that's what we all want, but we actually don't, because if you look at the bestsellers list, number one is the Fiesta, and you know, Corsa, and you know, all these relatively small cars. That's what we actually want. We don't want all these big SUVs. They're just telling us we do, because they can make more money out of them. And you've only got to look at the faces on people in, you know, like a car park or supermarket car park, doing a 9-point turn to try and get into this stupid small space.
Yeah.
When most people, all they need is a relatively small, you know, hatchback size ID3, like maximum is fine for most people. You know, anything like the Fiat 500 or the Up, you know, they're such good size cars for our roads, because we're not in America. So it's crazy. There has to be some readjustment, I think, of our expectations a little bit, or car manufacturers' expectations.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I'm not sure if you missed it. The Fiesta got outsold by the Puma, I think, last month or the month before.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
The Fiesta dipped right down in the top 50 or something. It wasn't even in the. I don't know why, but it's the Fiesta's being dropped next year.
They are dropping it, yeah,
Yeah,
which is a weird one, given how popular it is. But again, there must just not be enough profit in it for them,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Very very rapidly, it just disappeared from the top 10 to the top 50, and then the Puma's now like the best selling Ford that they've got. So
Well, that is weird. Yeah.
the only thing I can think of is that the Corsa is such a good. They made there's loads of like lease deals on the Corsa, or like deals that Vauxhall are doing. That's the only thing I could think of.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Or maybe Ford are just incentivizing their salespeople to sell
sell
the
Pumas,
Puma
yeah.
instead of the Fiesta. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. But a shame because the Fiesta, things like the Fiesta, that's what people want. They just want a pretty basic,
That sort of
decent
size.
car.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's
yeah,
perfect. Perfect for most people.
yeah, yeah. While we're on like Ford stuff, they're doing a lot of commercial vehicles development with Volkswagen.
Okay.
If you've seen, so for a long time, commercial vehicles, all the big companies, they do. The commercial vehicles aren't different like vans and things. They all like engine share and platform share. But for a very long time, Ford and Volkswagen have done their own thing, their own way. And then now, once we move to electric vehicles, they've realised, I think, that they can't really do it themselves. So Volkswagen and Ford are now sort of developing a car each and then just sharing it. So the ID Buzz, that's a Volkswagen vehicle, and then
Yeah.
the new Ford Transit Custom, that's just a Volkswagen under the skin. So it's interesting that they've gone away from doing their own thing for such a long time, and they're now doing
Yeah.
sharing. So
No, that is interesting, and I think it's going to happen more and more. I mean, like Mazda, for instance, they've been asleep at the wheel in terms of electrification. They did the MX-30, which
Yep.
was a bit compromised, really. In fact, that's an understatement. It was. I'm being nice because it was a really comfortable car and really good to drive and everything. But Mazda, they should have done an MX-5, like an electric MX-5. They could have made a real statement with that. It would have been
yeah,
so cool. Anyway, yeah. So they're
going to get beaten. So
well, yeah, yeah.
well, MG are doing an electric sports car next year. They're releasing that.
Yeah, so I saw that. Well, there you go. See, MG is showing them how
Yeah.
it should be done. So it's going to be interesting because I've got a soft spot for Mazda. I used to have a 323F a long time ago, and so I have a soft spot for them. But they've been very, very slow. And anyway, yeah. So I did read something to say that they are now spending billions on electrification, and
Yeah.
what will probably happen is they'll realise that they haven't been quick enough, and they'll just link up with Hyundai or something like that. And that's the other thing. I mean, Hyundai have been really clever with all this EGMP platform on which the Ioniqs are based and EV6 and all that. They've obviously spent a fortune doing that, and they've done it really well. And I'm sure they'll be very happy to sell that on to any other company that is a bit of a laggard at the moment. So I'm sure that's what will happen with Mazda. It's a shame. They're a good company, but I went to the MX-30 launch. Again, that was at GridServe in Braintree, and they did a presentation for the press, and a lot of it was talking about engines, their SkyActiv engine, and how electrification is a small part of their business. And it's like, oh yeah, we've done the MX-30, it's fine for cities and stuff. But I laid into them about that in this review, and it's because it's baffling. They should be able to see how the world is going, and they're going to seem so old-fashioned, if they don't keep up. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I don't know why they're also blinded and they can't see where the world is going. I mean, they've only just released a plug-in hybrid, I think, Mazda, and they tried to make some big fanfare about that. But come on,
Yeah,
guys.
so the Mazda 2 hybrid is just a Yaris that's rebadged.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. If you look at the Mazda 2 hybrid and look at a Toyota Yaris, it's exactly the same.
Right.
So they're borrowing bits from Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toyota's interesting. They released I can't remember the name of it, B4Z something or other SUV.
Yeah.
And I think it had one recall in America for like loose wheel bolts, and they released a public statement saying EVs aren't a part of our future. And a few weeks later, they sort of backtracked and said we're investing all this money into EVs. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're a weird one. I mean, they've been marketing against EVs quite heavily for a long time.
yeah, with
So
the self-charging stuff.
yeah, and all that, which is genius. I mean, their marketing is genius. All that kind of self-charging hybrid stuff. and it works. Unfortunately, this is why it's genius. But I think they're terrible. I think they're evil. But like so, my mum, for instance, she said, "Oh, our neighbours have just got some Toyota hybrid thing, and it's even better than your electric car because it charges itself." Really, and but
Yeah.
that's problem is, what does she know? I mean, no. So I have to. That's why I think it's evil genius, and it shouldn't be allowed really to do that kind of marketing. So that's why it's great that like Norway banned them from saying self-charging hybrids, didn't they, or something?
Oh, I didn't know that.
But they need
Oh, that's good.
they need to
Yeah.
do the same here. And annoyingly, other companies have now run with it as well. So Kia
Yeah.
now apparently makes self-charging hybrids as well, and Kia should know better because they've been
Yeah.
pretty good with electrics.
Yeah, they've been very good with that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. It's just sort of defeating the object of everything. So
Yeah, it's depressing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So with the cars you review on the YouTube channel, what's your favourite car that you've reviewed so far? Do you think?
Well, my favourite car by far is the Ioniq 5.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's weird actually because I suppose a lot of the time if you review a car and you have it for a short period of time, then you might be a bit more positive perhaps about it than you would be over a long term. But with the Ioniq 5, I just love that car. I mean, it's just so comfortable, and I mean, I maintain it. It looks amazing. I think it's cool. I would say it's the coolest looking EV around. So Ioniq 5 is by far my favourite. And a lot of people when we sold that, and we said that we were going to have a Tesla for a bit, and I got a lot of flack about that. A lot of people assumed that I'd sold my soul to Musk and everything, but I'm not going to get on any Elon tattoos or anything like that. I'm not a fanboy. But the Tesla is a really impressive car, both the Model Y and the Model 3 that we've tried, but doesn't have quite. It's just for me, it just doesn't feel quite as special as the Ioniq 5. Even though the Ioniq 5 is way behind in terms of the infotainment system and everything, and I mean all the stuff that Tesla does is amazing, but just things like the auto high beam doesn't work properly in a Tesla, and it can't even. When we drove to Italy in the Tesla, it doesn't even read the road signs, the speed limit signs. Sorry, and you would think, my God, it does fart mode and it, all these other tricks that it does, but it can't even do something basic like that. Whereas the Kia e-Niro does that. In fact, most cars I've driven can manage all of that. Okay, auto high beam and reading the speed limit signs, but Tesla can't. But of course they'll update it. They update these things. So Teslas are way ahead in many ways, but on the stuff that you really want, like telling you what speed limit it is and auto high beams, they're not there yet. But anyway, that's fine. Overall, they're pretty good cars, but nothing comes close to the Ioniq 5 for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The Teslas were special like ages ago when they were new, I think, but I think the tech gimmicks. Not that they're gimmicks, but the tech showy stuff is sort of worn off a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it's still, there's still a lot to like about the Tesla, but things like, Sentry mode, for instance, is fantastic. I really think that's amazing, and as is the dog mode. There's, just something simple like that, and they're agile enough to be able to add these things. Someone might tweet Elon Musk, and then they might add this thing, a few weeks later. I mean, that's pretty amazing, really, because they are a software company. So, no, they're brilliant. And I think other manufacturers could learn a lot from them. But at the same time, I just feel that there are just some things that just doesn't sit right with me with the Tesla. I just don't get it. It doesn't feel as nice as many other cars. And I don't know what it is.
I think it's the thing that they're too simple inside the design. Maybe there's not enough going on inside. I mean, with traditional cars like Mercedes and stuff, we have a lot of crap, like a lot of trinkets and things. We just need a balance between that.
Again, and it's all about the balance, isn't it? Yeah. So again with Ioniq 5, I like the fact that it feels quite open in the front, but I appreciate a lot of people prefer a sort of more of a cockpit vibe where you feel a bit more kind of in like that. So which is where the Kia EV6 is really good. But But whereas Tesla just feels, you've got that open feel, but it feels a bit
Yeah.
soulless.
Yeah, I think
I
you're
think,
right.
yeah, I don't know what it is. I just, and I've driven a Model 3 a couple of times now. Well, we had one for 3 months, but I never felt like, oh, this is my car.
Yeah.
It never felt
Yeah.
right, and I don't know what it is. It's really difficult to put my finger on exactly what the problem is for
Yeah.
me, anyway. Really, it's a really impressive car, but yeah, just doesn't do it
Fair
for me.
enough. Yeah. That's why it's good. There's a lot of choice now. So,
Well, exactly, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I just wish the thing is, I mean, maybe a lot of people feel the same way about Teslas. I mean, Tesla owners might even feel a lot the same way. But what it does have is a supercharger network, and nothing else comes close. I mean, that's the thing. That's like, if for anyone that does long distance journeys a lot, I wouldn't even recommend another
Yeah.
car brand right now. I would just say get a Tesla, which is depressing. It shouldn't be like that, but it is, because Tesla were good enough to build the superchargers. They're amazing. I've never known one not work. I've always plenty
Yeah.
to go to. It tells you how much battery you'll have when you get there, and it's pretty accurate. It tells you how long you'll have to charge for, all this kind of stuff. It just works in a Tesla. It's as
Yeah.
close as the Apple experience as you can possibly get, in that you don't have to think. You just go there and charge, and it's brilliant. I mean, I really wish that other manufacturers could do the same
Yeah.
thing, but while we've got all these different charge networks with our own back office systems, and none of them really work, none of them talk to each other, the reliability is not good, all this kind of stuff. Until they're all talking to each other, and we've got some kind of shared network, like roaming network across them all, then we're never going to have that Tesla situation. It's a shame, but that is why the whole, it's a bit cliche, but it's the Android and Apple kind of difference a little bit, I find. So Tesla really is the Apple experience. You're in that ecosystem, and it all just works.
Yeah.
Generally, it all just works. Whereas everything else is a bit more chaotic, and a lot of people prefer Android, for instance, but it's not quite as slick. But you have the choice. You can obviously go anywhere you want, and charge anywhere you want, and you're not beholden to Elon Musk's, whims and whatever like that. Because I know a lot of people don't like him. So it's that Android Apple thing. Yeah, I find it really interesting. But just amazing what Tesla have done.
I'm not sure how far they've got with it, but there are some chargers in this country which you can use any car on the supercharger network. I'm not sure if it's all of them.
Yeah, there are. Yes. Yeah, it's not all of them yet. No, there's in fact the supercharger that's nearest to me is at Eurotunnel, and that one you can. Did we use it? No, we haven't used that one yet. But yeah, that one any car can use. And there's a few dotted around. Another one. I mean, I've done my Land's End to John O'Groats trip a couple of times now. If I was to do it again, and I probably won't, but if I ever did it again, there's actually superchargers up in Aviemore, which I would use. So it's really good that Tesla have opened up. But also, I mean, the Ioniq 5 has its charging port on the wrong side. So if you go there, you're probably going to end up, if it's busy, you're going to end up annoying a Tesla owner that can't then charge because it's on the wrong side. So there's all these kind of issues, and that would stress me out, worrying that I'm going to upset a Tesla driver probably. But yeah, really good. Anyway, so the whole Tesla experience is
Nice.
generally great, but just for me, I just don't like the cars as much.
That's fair enough. The last thing we'll get onto is the EV tax that's coming. Is it next year? It is next year, yeah. No, sorry, 2025. Yeah.
It is 2025, yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it's unfair. I'll backtrack a bit. No, I think it's fair, very, very fair, in fact, that EV owners are taxed, because we should be taxed. If there's a road tax to pay, I think we should pay it. And I don't think EV owners should be getting a free ride particularly. But it should be staggered based on the CO2 the car produces, the fact that spending, because it's based on the amount of money the car costs, you could end up spending, if you're like a Kia e-Niro owner, I think is paying, would be paying, sorry, like almost
Oh,
£500
wow.
or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a crazy amount. So they would be paying more than an old
Yeah.
diesel car would, which makes no sense at all. So, so yeah, I'm all for a tax, but it should be fair, and I do think it should still be based on like CO2. The price is a terrible way to
Yeah.
do it because EVs cost, as you said earlier, if you've got a Corsa, if the EV version costs about 10 grand more,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
how is that fair? How should an EV Corsa driver be paying more?
No.
Makes no sense. So, but it's all what I think is we'll probably have a change of government anyway by then. I can't see the Conservatives staying in power. So if Labour get in, I imagine they will
Yeah.
probably change it and make it more fair. I would hope so anyway. But I feel like that it's kind of a ticking time bomb that the Tories have put there for Labour to sort out. I don't want to get into politics particularly, but I do think that there's no chance there's no chance it will come in like it is, like it's been announced. I don't think it's going to be that EV drivers have to pay that much
That's a lot.
because it would be madness.
Yeah.
But I think that Labour are going to have to balance the books somehow, and God knows how they're going to do it. But I think it'll change. So yeah. So for me, good that there's a road tax, fine with it, but it's got to be fair. And more polluting cars should not be paying less.
100%. Yeah. I actually had no idea it worked that way. I just thought it was a flat fee for every EV. I didn't think it was based on how much you can afford.
Yeah. No, well, it's just, yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, it becomes like a luxury
Yeah.
car tax almost. But EVs shouldn't be luxury cars. You're paying more for the technology. So it's, and you're paying more to pollute less, effectively. So, no, it's madness.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap up there if that's okay. Yeah, I'll just do the closing
Okay,
notes. So, cool. Thank you for joining me on the Creator Spotlight, Andrew. It's been really cool to talk to you about EVs and the YouTube channel you've got. Where can people find you online if they want to get in contact or follow you or what you do?
Yes, so I'm trying to think what the web address is now. Well, yeah, if you find me on YouTube under Mr. EV, I think, is it youtube.com/ and then you can do the @ Mr. EV, I think that works. And I'm on Twitter, a bit less than I used to be, but I'm on Twitter still, so if you go to twitter.com/ and Tiller the Nun. Oh yeah, I forgot, that's my awful username. Tiller the Nun. Yeah, so if you find me on Twitter there, then feel free to send me a message and ask me any kind of things about EVs, and I'll answer as quick as I can.
As well, because that's always what you're supposed to do. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Alex. It's been great talking.